Hey everybody, Adam here from Menta Watches. Welcome back to the channel. For this week's video, we are going to be taking a look at 10 new vintage watches being uploaded on the site imminently. Without any further ado, let's jump right into it. We have 7 vintage Rolex coming up this week and 3 non-Rolex coming up. We're going to take a look at the Rolex first. We'll start all the way at the top of my pile here with 2 amazing 1970s Submariners. The very first one is the first 1680 red Submariner with a feet first dial circa 1970. This watch is special simply because of the condition. It has one of the most incredible patinas I've ever seen on a 1680 red, what people sometimes refer to as pumpkin patina, due to its orange color, which is all original on the hands and dial. It has an incredible strong case, unpolished. This watch came fresh straight out of Brazil a couple months ago. All original, even down to the bracelet, which is dated to match the watch circa 1971. Original insert, and really just a spectacular example if you're in the market for a high quality red Submariner. Next to it, we have another reference 1680, but not your ordinary 1680. This is circa mid 1970s with a Tiffany & Co. logo dial. As we've talked about in past videos, throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even through the early 90s, Tiffany & Co. would retail some Rolex watches through their store, and they would stamp the dial Tiffany & Co., which adds a lot of value and desirability to the watch. This watch comes fresh to us from a collector who had a nice small collection of Tiffany & Co. watches. It's in really beautiful condition with an original dial and hands, beautiful yellow lume with a nice strong case with nice bevels to it. Been polished in the past, but the case has been really well done. Really overall a very attractive example of a very rare watch, being that it's Tiffany & Co. Moving right along, probably my favorite watch of the new upload, the Stella-Dial. Back in the 1970s, Rolex in their catalog offered what they called Stella lacquer dial day dates. And what these watches were an ordinary day date, which they would apply a coat of lacquer on and offer in different colors. It's believed that these watches were intended only for the Middle Eastern and Asia markets who wanted maybe something a little bit extra and different. You know, they offered red, yellow, blue, a variety of different colors, of which Rolex recently used as their inspiration for the Oyster Perpetuals that came out a few years ago in all the different cool and unique colors. This particular model is a reference 18038, so it has a sapphire crystal and a quick set function. It's circa 1980s, and it has a beautiful green dial that is in perfect condition. It's always important to look on these, just like the stone dials that we've talked about before, to make sure there are no cracks or hairlines on the dial. And again, if there are, just make sure the price reflects that. This dial happens to be absolutely perfect with a perfectly green lacquer dial, perfect original tritium lume on the dial and hands with these beautiful yellow puffy plots. Really overall an exceptional watch, beautiful case, just really cool and interesting. And we paired it on a matching green strap, which really just makes the watch pop. People love to refer to these Stella dials as the perfect summer watch because the colors really pop and it gives it something a little more unique and different than a normal champagne or gray dial that day dates typically come with. Moving along, also one of my favorite references by Rolex in the vintage world, the reference 1016 Explorer. This one circa mid 1970s, I think it's 74 or 75. The 1016 Explorer really is just the perfect everyday watch. It's 36 millimeters in size, so it's perfect as a dress watch, but it's obviously still a sports watch, so you can wear it with jeans and a t-shirt. It really is something very cool and unique, and these watches always seem to fly off the shelves because they really work for everybody and in every scenario. On the bottom, we have some really good entry point vintage and neo-vintage Rolex coming to the site. Starting on my left here, we have 2 Datejust on offer. We have one from the late 1960s, plastic crystal, reference 1601 with a white gold bezel. This one is interesting because it has this gray lavender dial, and it also has No-Lume on the hands or dial as original from factory. A lot of people like that because sometimes the lume could lead to degradation on the dial depending on how it aged. When you have no lume, they tend to be more well preserved. This one with a really strong case, an absolutely perfect dial, really beautiful watch with an interestingly aged color. On the left here, we have a more modern or neo-vintage reference with a sapphire crystal, a reference 16220 circa 2000 with a beautiful cream dial, ivory I guess maybe you could call it, and interestingly a applied Roman numeral dial, sometimes referred to as the Buckley dial, although those are most often painted Roman numerals, but we could kind of call it a semi-Buckley dial. But a really stunning combination with the cream dial and applied silver markers. It's really a beautiful combination, a little sturdier than your plastic crystal variety, and something great to get in that 5K and under price point. And on the right, a watch that I've championed for years as a perfect starter vintage sports Rolex. They reference 16570 Explorer. This one circa 1999-2000, if memory serves. Really exceptional condition on this watch. Sharp, unpolished case, original case back sticker. The bracelet has no stretch. It's really a fantastic watch. And not only does it have the original case back sticker, but the hologram is still completely visible. So you can see the coronet in 16570. Whoever owned this watch in the past really took amazing care of it. And it's a watch that's still under 10 grand and a perfect entry point into the world of sports Rolex without breaking the bank. Moving on to our non-3 Rolex watches. I know Rolex usually takes the lion's share of the discussion. We have 3 amazing watches. One we've talked about in the past, that's one of my personal favorite sports chronographs from the 60s and 70s, the Zenith El Primero reference A386. This was the first automatic chronograph movement, the caliber number 3019 PHC. This one happens to be, like the last one we offered, in stunning condition. They made very few of these. It's alleged that only a couple thousand examples were produced over the years that they did produce it, for about 4 or 5 years. Unpolished case, beautiful dial with no damage whatsoever, beautiful original yellow tritium lume on the hands and dial, original K-phrase ladder bracelet that is dated third quarter 1968, but really just a spectacular example of an amazing watch. I absolutely adore these watches. They fit so well on the wrist. They're thin, they have a great profile, they're about 37 millimeters, really just special pieces, and it's no wonder that Zenith keeps remaking this exact watch, because this is their crown jewel, in my opinion. Another interesting chronograph we have, circa 1950s, 1960s, a Dodane Type 21. So in the 1950s, the French military commissioned certain chronographs that would meet their specifications for military use, and a lot of different brands provided those watches, such as Breguet. Another brand that provided them was Dodane, and this watch is the Type 21, not Type 20, which came earlier. As the French military upgraded their military specifications, the Type 21 was introduced, I believe, late 1950s. Interestingly enough, this watch also has a beautiful tropical brown dial. It's aged ever so gracefully with nice yellow patina. And if we flip it over on the back, we see 2 different FG marks. So what that means is FG stands for fin de guarantee, or the end of guarantee. So when somebody using this in the military would take this into the French watchmaker to service, they would stamp it FG and put a date as to when the guarantee on the watch, the service guarantee on the watch, ended. So we see one here in July of 1970, and we see another one in August of 1971. It adds a little more provenance to the watch, that these were actually used in military operation, and it's a special watch with great provenance, great history, and just absolutely a great look. The last watch we have is something we don't really sell very often, but I was happy to put it on our website since we don't sell them very often, and this one happens to be a beautiful example. It is an Omega Constellation Deluxe, reference 14398, and the cool thing about this watch is simply absolutely spectacular condition of it. It is unpolished, dial is perfect, and I absolutely love this brick style bracelet that is signed Omega, original to the watch. A lot of times these were taken off, sometimes melted for scrap, sometimes put on other watches, or sometimes they just were not well preserved, so people remove them and put them on straps. But this watch completely as sold on its original bracelet that happens to be very long, so nobody will have a problem wearing it or fitting on their wrist, and the condition is absolutely spectacular. So yeah, that is the 10 watches we are listing this week on the site. As always, if you have any questions, inquiries, comments, feel free to drop us a message on Instagram, on our website, and if you like this video, as always, please do us a favor and help the channel grow. Like, comment, subscribe, and all the normal YouTube stuff to help us out. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.